The drama surrounding this fight didn't begin with shouting, insults, or the usual theatrics that often sell a boxing match. Instead, it crept in quietly, almost invisibly, in the hours leading up to the opening bell. There was no chaos, just tension. A subtle, heavy tension built on uncertainty. Because this wasn't about rivalry, it wasn't about hatred. It was about questions that no one in the arena or watching around the world could confidently answer. Junto Nakatani walked into this moment carrying something far more complicated than pressure. He carried expectation mixed with doubt. Undefeated, already a world champion, and widely respected for his skill set, he had nothing left to prove at flyweight. But boxing has always been unforgiving when it comes to moving up. New divisions don't care about your past achievements. They don't respect your previous belts. They demand proof, again. And that was the heart of the story. Would his power carry up? Would his precision still matter against naturally bigger men? Would he still look dominant or suddenly human? Across the ring stood Andrew Maloney, a fighter whose journey had been defined by persistence. He wasn't undefeated. He wasn't untouched by setbacks. But he was dangerous, seasoned, battle-tested, and hungry in a way that only fighters who've fallen short truly understand. For Maloney, this wasn't just another opportunity. This was the opportunity, the one that could finally erase the narrative that he couldn't quite reach the top. Two fighters, two motivations, one answer waiting to be revealed. When the bell rang, the tension didn't explode, it unfolded. From the opening seconds, Maloney pressed forward, trying to impose himself immediately. His strategy was clear: close the distance, disrupt the rate, rhythm, and prevent Nakatani from settling into his long-range comfort zone. It was the kind of aggressive start that signaled urgency. Maloney knew he couldn't afford to let Nakatani dictate the pace. But what became apparent almost instantly was how composed Nakatani remained. He didn't rush, he didn't panic, he didn't react emotionally to the pressure. Instead, he calculated. Using his height and reach, he began placing shots with surgical precision. Every movement seemed deliberate, every punch carried intent. The early exchanges weren't explosive, but they were revealing. Nakatani wasn't overwhelmed by the new weight class. If anything, he looked comfortable. Then came the first real moment. A clean left hand to the body, sharp, accurate, and perfectly timed, caught Maloney as he stepped forward. It wasn't just a scoring punch, it was a statement, and moments later, that statement turned into shock. Maloney went down. It wasn't chaos, it was sudden, controlled, almost clinical. Round one hadn't even fully settled, and already the tone of the fight had shifted. But if there was any doubt about whether that moment was a fluke, round two erased it completely. This was where Nakatani didn't just take control, he imposed it. The uppercuts began to appear like a recurring nightmare for Maloney. Short, compact, and devastatingly accurate. They slipped through his guard again and again, each one snapping his head back, each one chipping away at his resistance. And then came the sequence that changed everything. A crushing right uppercut landed clean. Maloney dropped hard. The canvas absorbed him, but the message echoed far beyond the ring. This wasn't just a competitive fight anymore. This was domination, unfolding in real time. To his credit, Maloney didn't stay down. Fighters like him rarely do. He rose, steadied himself, and tried to fight his way back into the contest. He dug to the body, attempted to smother the offense, and showed glimpses of the resilience that had carried him this far. But resilience alone isn't always enough, because Nakatani wasn't slowing down. He adjusted mid-round, mixing body shots, with uppercuts, switching rhythms, and controlling distance with an almost unsettling ease. It wasn't just power anymore. It was versatility. He wasn't relying on one weapon. He was using everything, and that's what made it dangerous. Then came adversity. In round three, a clash of heads opened a deep cut between Nakatani's eyes. Blood began to stream down his face, briefly halting the action and introducing uncertainty into the fight. Cuts can change everything. They can shift momentum. They can force a fighter out of their rhythm. For a moment, it looked like this might be Maloney's opportunity. But what followed only added to the growing disbelief. Nakatani didn't crumble under the distraction. He didn't lose focus. He continued. Even with blood running down his face, he kept landing clean uppercuts. Kept controlling the exchanges and kept dictating the pace. It was a display of composure that separated good fighters from great ones. By round 4, Maloney tried to rally. He pressed forward again, landing occasional right hands, attempting to create moments where he could shift momentum. And there were brief flashes, small pockets of success that hinted at a possible comeback. But every time he found something, Nakatani responded with precision, with timing, with authority. The uppercuts returned, the counters landed. The rhythm never truly left Nakatani's control. Rounds 5 and 6 told a similar story, but with a subtle evolution. Nakatani began shortening his punches, adapting to the inside exchanges, and proving that he wasn't just effective at range. He could fight wherever the fight went, inside, outside, mid-range. It didn't matter. Maloney, meanwhile, found himself in what commentators often call the dead zone. Too far to land effectively, too close to avoid damage. And in that space, Nakatani thrived. Still, the fight wasn't without its moments of resistance. Round 7 became one of the most competitive stretches of the contest. Both fighters exchanged heavy shots on the inside, trading body blows and short hooks in close quarters. For a brief moment, it felt like Maloney might be turning a corner. His punches landed cleaner. His confidence grew. And for the first time, Nakatani wasn't completely untouched, but even in that moment, there was a difference. Nakatani never lost control. He adapted again, stepping back, resetting, and returning to his strengths. By rounds 8 and 9, he had regained full command, mixing body shots with long-range left hands, slowly but surely breaking Maloney down. The damage was accumulating, not always dramatically, but steadily, relentlessly. By the time round 10 arrived, the fight had taken on a different tone. The urgency was no longer shared equally. For Maloney, it became desperation. He needed something big, a knockout, a miracle, a moment that could rewrite everything. For Nakatani, it was about finishing what he had started. And then came round 11. A perfectly timed straight left hand landed clean, dropping Maloney once again. It wasn't just the knockdown, it was the way it happened. Precise, calculated, inevitable. Maloney got up, once again showing the kind of toughness that refuses to be dismissed. But the signs were there. The resistance was fading. The damage had taken its toll. And heading into the final round, there was a sense that something decisive was coming. What followed was not just a finish, it was a statement that would echo far beyond the arena. In the 12th round, Nakatani closed the show with brutal finality. A devastating punch landed clean, sending Maloney crashing down in a moment that froze the entire scene. It wasn't just a knockdown, it was a knockout that demanded immediate attention. Medical teams rushed in as the reality of the impact set in. It was one of those moments in boxing where everything goes silent, where the magnitude of what just happened sinks in slowly. Maloney, eventually sitting upright, showed signs of recovery, relief to everyone watching, but the fight was over, and the story had been written. Junto Nakatani had done more than win, he had shocked the world. What was expected to be a competitive, high-level clash had turned into something far more one-sided. Against a proven contender, he had demonstrated not just skill, but dominance. Not just power, but control. Not just talent, but greatness. He claimed the WBO title that night, but more importantly, he claimed recognition. This wasn't just about becoming a two-division world champion. It was about how he did it, through adversity, through precision, through complete command of every phase of the fight. And as the dust settled, a new question began to replace the old ones. Not, can he do it at this weight, but who can stop him now? Because if this performance was any indication, Junto Nakatani wasn't just passing tests anymore. He was rewriting expectations, and this might only be the beginning. If you felt the intensity of this fight, if you saw what Nakatani just did to a world-class opponent, then the conversation is just getting started. Who do you think can challenge him next? Is there anyone in the division ready for this level of dominance, or are we witnessing the rise of something truly special? Drop your thoughts below, and if you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like and subscribe, because the Nakatani era is only getting bigger from here.